Hello students, this is Mrs. Sonal Patil. We had already begun with the chapter 6 Anatomy of Flowering Plants. Once again, I will briefly describe from the beginning. All living organisms on the planet Earth are made up of cells. A cell is a basic and fundamental unit of an organism. So you already know that a cell is a basic and fundamental unit of an organism, and these group of cells which are common in origin, structure and function form tissues. So a tissue is a group of cells having a common origin and usually performing common function. The branch of biology that deals with the study of tissues is called as histology, and the branch of biology that deals with the study of internal structure of an organism is called anatomy. A plant is made up of different kinds of tissues. These tissues are classified into two main groups, namely meristematic and permanent tissues, based on whether the cells being formed are capable of dividing or not. So, whether they are capable of dividing or not, depending upon that, two types of tissues are being described: meristematic and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues. The growth in plants is largely restricted to specialized regions of active cell division called meristems. So growth is occurring in the plant in these regions called as meristems. So these are the specialized regions present in the plant. Plants have different kinds of meristem. These meristems are the undifferentiated, immature and embryonic cells capable of continuous mitotic division. Usually the meristematic cells are isodiametric, oval, polygonal or irregular in shape. The cells are arranged compactly without intercellular spaces. Cell wall is very thin and is made up of cellulose and hemicellulose. Each cell contains a distinct nucleus and a dense cytoplasm occupies central region. Vacuoles are absent. If present, they are very small. Plastids are present in the form of proplastid. Meristems present in the apices of shoot and root. They are present in the tip of the shoot and the root. You can find the meristems over there. They do not show or they do not store ergastic substances. They undergo continuous mitotic cell division, so they are actively dividing. They undergo a process of differentiation to produce permanent tissues. And the meristems, as I told you, which occur at the tip of the roots and the shoots, they will produce primary tissues and are called as apical meristem. Root apical meristem occupies the tip of the root, while the shoot apical meristem occupies the distant most region of the stem axis. During the formation of leaves and elongation of the stem, some cells left behind from shoot apical meristem constitute the axillary bud. So axillary bud is present nothing at the angle of the stem and the leaf. Such buds are present in the axils of leaves and are capable of forming branch or a flower. The meristem which occurs between mature tissues is known as intercalary meristems. So these intercalary meristems are present at the nodes and at the base of leaf that help in the linear growth of the plant. These intercalary meristems, they occur in the grasses and regenerate parts removed by grazing herbivores. Both apical meristem and intercalary meristem are primary meristem because they appear early in the life of a plant and contribute to the formation of primary plant body. The meristem that occurs in the mature regions of the roots and shoots of many plants, particularly those that produce woody axis and appear later than primary meristem, is called the secondary or lateral meristem. These are cylindrical meristems, or they are cylindrical meristem. Fascicular vascular cambium, interfascicular cambium and cork cambium are examples of lateral meristems. So lateral meristems are nothing but these meristems are present towards peripheral region and help in secondary growth. Lateral meristems are responsible for increase in the girth of the organ. So here the example quoted are the vascular cambium and the cork cambium. These are responsible for producing the secondary tissues. So these were the classification of meristems. So we can classify generally meristems based on origin. You can classify into three types: promeristem, primary meristem, and secondary meristem. Whereas classification of meristem based on position, we can classify again into three types: apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and lateral meristem. Following divisions of cells in both primary as well as secondary meristems, the newly formed cells become structurally and functionally specialized and lose the ability to divide. Such cells are termed permanent or mature cells and constitute the permanent tissues. During the formation of primary plant body, specific regions of the apical meristem produce dermal tissues, ground tissues, and vascular tissues. So here apical meristem, that is a root is been shown and then a shoot. So here they have shown the root apical meristem has been shown. You can just see over here. This is the root cap. This is in the root. Whereas the shoot, they have shown the shoot apical meristem, the meristematic zone, okay, axillary bud. And here is a differentiating vascular tissue. So here I told you apical meristems are present at the tip of the root and the tip of the shoot. Permanent tissues. The cells of the permanent tissues do not generally divide further. Permanent tissues having all cells similar in structure and function are called simple tissues. Permanent tissues have many different type of cells called as complex tissues. So here let me tell you, permanent tissues are classified into two types: simple tissues and complex tissues. Depending upon, in simple tissues they have similar type of cells, okay, whereas in the complex tissue they have different type of cells. So the name is given as complex. And the simple tissues, in simple tissues the tissue is said to be homogeneous because it is made up of similar type of cells, whereas complex tissues are said to be heterogeneous because they are made up of different type of tissues. Simple tissues, as I told you, made up of only one type of cells. The various simple tissues in plants are parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. One by one we will discuss about this. Firstly, coming to parenchyma. Parenchyma forms a major component within organs. The cells of the parenchyma are generally isodiametric. They may be spherical, oval, round, polygonal, or elongated in shape. Their walls are thin and made up of cellulose. They may either be closely packed or have small intercellular spaces. The parenchyma performs various functions like photosynthesis, storage, and secretion. So here is a diagram being shown. The transverse section as well as the longitudinal section is been shown. Here in the diagram you can just see cells show different shapes, okay, and then presence of intercellular spaces. In this, cell walls are thin, here made up of cellulose, okay, peripherally placed nucleus because is a vacuole being present, large vacuole is there, cells are leaving, okay. Here this has been shown in the longitudinal section. Cell wall, nucleus, cytoplasm, intercellular spaces, and the vacuoles have been shown. So as I told you, these cells may be isodiametric, oval, polygonal, or irregular. These are showing intercellular spaces. Cell walls are thin, made up of cellulose. They contain large vacuoles surrounded by tonoplast, okay, and then the cell contains distinct nucleus and dense cytoplasm occupying, which will that is nothing but the nucleus is occupying towards the periphery. So this is the features of parenchyma. These parenchyma cells are involved in many physiological activities like photosynthesis, respiration, storage, secretion, and excretion. They are helpful in water, mineral salts. They are helpful in the conduction of water, mineral salts, and food materials. One of the type of parenchyma, that is aerenchyma, gives buoyancy to the aquatic plant. Aerenchyma is nothing but that the parenchyma cells having large intracellular spaces filled with air that gives buoyancy. Buoyancy is nothing but ability to float in the hydrophytic plants. Whereas chlorenchema, again a type of parenchyma, these are containing chlorophyll pigment which helps in photosynthesis. So that was about parenchyma. So parenchyma is a living tissue. It is a simple tissue. Coming to colonchema. Colonchema occurs in layers below the epidermis in most of the dicot plants. It is found either as a homogeneous layer or in patches. It consists of cells which are much thickened at corners due to the deposition of cellulose, hemicellulose, and pectin. Colonchematous cells may be oval, spherical, or polygonal and often contain chloroplast. These cells assimilate food when they contain chloroplast. Intercellular spaces are absent in these because the cells are closely packed. They provide mechanical support to the growing parts of the plant, such as young stem and petiole of a leaf. Stalk of the leaf is called as petiole. So it gives mechanical support. So a question may be asked in the exam, which is a living mechanical tissue. Answer is colonchema. So colonchema is a living mechanical tissue. Features are very important to be remembered. There are different types of colonchema again, like angular colonchema, lamellar colonchema, and lacunar colonchema, depending upon the pectin deposition where it is occurring. In angular colonchema, pectin is deposited at the angles or at the corners of the cells, whereas in the lamellar colonchema, pectin is deposited on the tangential wall, and in the lacunar colonchema, pectin is deposited in the intercellular spaces. So these are the types of colonchema. Diagram has been shown over here. Here you can see that the cells are of different shape. They may be isodiametric, like a parenchyma itself, isodiametric, oval, polygonal in shape. Okay, cells are compactly arranged here. That is the difference between parenchyma and colonchema here. Cells are compactly arranged without intercellular space. So they don't have intercellular spaces. The cell contains large vacuole, you can see, and these are found in the hypodermis of the dicot stem. So hypodermis is nothing but is a layer present below the epidermis, is called as hypodermis. So in the hypodermis of the dicot stem, we can find these colonchema cells being present. Coming to the next one, sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma consists of a long, narrow cells with a thick and lignified cell walls having a few or numerous pits. They are usually dead and without protoplast. So these cells are dead. Why? Because they lose the protoplast at maturity, and because of which they are dead, and because of which they are called as the dead cells. On the basis of variation in the form, structure, origin, and development, sclerenchyma may be either fibers or sclerites. The fibers are thick-walled, elongated, and pointed cells, generally occurring in groups in various parts of the plant. The sclerites are spherical, oval, or cylindrical, highly thickened, dead cells with very narrow cavities. These are commonly found in the fruit walls of nuts, pulp of fruits like guava, pear, and sapota, seed coats of legumes, and leaves of tea. Sclerenchyma provides mechanical support to organs. So remember, sclerenchyma is a dead tissue and it is a mechanical tissue. So the question may be asked in the exam as which is a dead mechanical tissue. So the answer to that is sclerenchyma. So remember the type of sclerenchyma, fibers or sclerites over here, and where they are occurring. So these are mainly mechanical tissues. They are giving mechanical support to the organs. So here again in the diagram it has been shown in the longitudinal section as well as the transverse section of sclerenchyma has been shown. So these are dead cells. You can see cells are again compactly arranged over here, and cell walls are thick due to the deposition of lignin. At some regions of the cell wall, lignin deposition is absent, and such regions are, or the areas are called as pits. And usually the cells are hexagonal or polygonal in shape. Coming to the complex tissues are made up of more than one type of cells and these work together as a unit. Xylem and phloem constitute the complex tissues in plants. First, let us discuss about xylem. Xylem functions as a conducting tissue for water and minerals from roots to the stem and leaves. As you all know that xylem is a water conducting tissue. It also provides mechanical strength to the plant parts. It is composed of four different kinds of elements, namely tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. Gymnosperms lack vessels in their xylem. Tracheids are elongated or tube like cells with thick and lignified walls and tapering ends. These are dead and are without protoplasm. The inner layers of the cell walls have thickenings which vary in the form. In flowering plants, tracheids and vessels are the main water transporting elements. So remember, xylem is a water conducting tissue and its components are tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. Vessel is a long cylindrical tube like structure made up of many cells called vessel members, each with lignified walls and a large central cavity. The vessel cells are also devoid of protoplasm. Vessel members are interconnected through perforations in their common walls. The presence of vessels is a characteristic feature of angiosperms. Xylem fibers have highly thickened walls and obliterated central lumens. These may either be septate or aseptate. Xylem parenchyma cells are living and thin walled and their cell walls are made up of cellulose. They store food materials in the form of starch or fat and other substances like tannins. The radial conduction of water takes place by the ray parenchymatous cells. Primary xylem is of two types, protoxylem and metaxylem. So what is this protoxylem? It is nothing but it is the firstly formed xylem, primary xylem elements. So the first formed primary xylem elements are called protoxylem and the later formed primary xylem is called as metaxylem. Now depending upon the position of the protoxylem and metaxylem, there are again two types, endarch and exarch. In the stems, the protoxylem lies towards the center and the metaxylem lies towards the periphery of the organ. This type of xylem is called as endarch. Very important question for 1 mark to be asked. In the roots, the protoxylem lies towards periphery and the metaxylem lies towards the center. Such an arrangement of primary xylem is called as exarch. So point to be noted here. Note about this endarch and exarch, very important for 1 mark. So that was about the xylem. And here is a diagram being showing about the tracheids and the fibers and the vessel members. Coming to phloem. Phloem transports food materials usually from leaves to other parts of the plant. Phloem in angiosperm is composed of sieve tube. So these are the components of the phloem. Which are those? Sieve tube elements, companion cells, phloem, parenchyma and phloem fibers. Gymnosperms have albuminous cells and sieve cells. They lack sieve tubes and companion cells. So gymnosperms lack sieve tubes and companion cells. Sieve tube elements are also long, tube-like structures arranged longitudinally and are associated with the companion cells. Their end walls are perforated in the sieve-like manner to form the sieve plates. A mature sieve element possesses a peripheral cytoplasm and a large vacuole but lacks a nucleus. The functions of sieve tubes are controlled by the nucleus of companion cells. The companion cells are specialized parenchymatous cells which are closely associated with sieve tube elements. The sieve tube elements and companion cells are connected by pit fields present between their common longitudinal walls. The companion cells help in maintaining the pressure gradient in the sieve tubes. So phloem is a food conducting tissue and its components are sieve tube elements, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and the phloem fibers. Phloem parenchyma is made up of elongated tapering cylindrical cells which have dense cytoplasm and nucleus. The cell wall is composed of cellulose and has pits through which plasmodesmatal connections exist between the cells. The phloem parenchyma stores food material and other substances like resins, latex, and mucilage. Phloem parenchyma is absent in most of the monocots. Phloem fibers are made up of sclerenchymatous cells. So they are sclerenchyma cells associated with phloem are called as phloem fibers. These are generally absent in the primary phloem but are found in the secondary phloem. These are much elongated, unbranched and have pointed needle-like apices. The cell wall of phloem fibers is quite thick. At maturity, these fibers lose their protoplast and become dead. Phloem fibers of jute, flax and hemp are usually they are used commercially. The first found primary phloem consists of a narrow sieve tubes and is referred to as protophlloem, and the later formed phloem has bigger sieve tubes and is referred to as metaphlloem. So again, two types of phloem, protophlloem and metaphlloem. So this is the diagram of the phloem showing the sieve plate. These are the sieve tube elements they have shown, and then these are the phloem parenchyma cells associated with the phloem. This is the companion cell. So this is the LS of phloem, or the longitudinal section of the phloem. Okay, so today we'll stop here. So today we have discussed about the simple tissues and the complex tissues. In the next class, we will begin with the next part of this particular chapter. Thank you.